So it's been a few weeks since last doing a video at all, approximately like three, I believe. And not that a whole lot has happened, but again, just a lot of waiting around because issues popped up. And I believe the last thing I talked about was the spark plug issue that I was having. And believe I told you all I swapped out. It was cylinder three that was having the issues, pulled it out, saw that it was all burnt to a crisp and horrible, swapped all of them, and like the next 60 miles after swapping out the 60 miles after swapping out the spark plug and also switching back to the map or tune that I ran on the track, everything was flawless. Well, everything was flawless until I started seeing smoke, and I had no idea what it was coming from until I got home and I was able to look at it a little bit more. I was just out and about and I couldn't see any clear signs just because I was taking really quick glances at it. But ended up being the turbo, and pulled it off and whatnot. And I'll show the picture of it, but ended up seeing that I had oil leaking out of the bottom. The one thing I didn't do was print out the inspection report, but I did send the turbo off to Precision, and they repaired it. Thankfully, much less than what I was anticipating. I don't know why I thought it was going to be a crazy price, but I do believe way back when I talked about it, the initial cost was just going to be 400 like minimum. So I was like, okay, it's still cheaper than a turbo. But when I saw the oil leak, or yeah, the oil leaking and the burning and all that, I had no idea what to expect. So they sent it back, or I sent it back, and then the inspection report, strangely enough, even though it's been 7 years since it was installed, it got originally installed in 2018. Just kind of put around for a little bit, driven on the street here and there, and then going, taking it drag racing, if you want to call it that, a few times. I'd say less than 10 total going to the drag strip, but about maybe 15 passes, and then decided to switch it up to the circuit tracks. But circuit tracks I started in 2020, but it's been off and on. So off and on for 5 years of it just being kind of casually street driven here and there, but a majority of what it did was just getting beat on the track. So for the fact that the turbo lasted, anything lasted 7 years was incredible. The turbo too, but it finally gave out, so I sent it in, and strangely enough, they said that the damage was not all that bad. I remember when I was inspecting it myself, I don't recall a lot of shaft play, but they in the report there was a lot of shaft play, and go figure too, I'm terrible, but they took apart the center house, like they disassembled the entire turbo, obviously for obvious reasons. But when they took it out, the turbine side, the exhaust wheel, and the shaft had a lot of coking on him. So that's my bad, because when I got off the track and got back to the paddock in my pit spot, I would just stop and turn the car off. I wouldn't allow it to cool down or anything like that. So there's a lot of oil residue that was getting or staying on the turbo, and it was like super heated. So it was kind of just like um, burning itself onto the shaft. So there was that. There was no significant damage to either the compressor housing or the exhaust housing, so those were all good. Everything was refurbished. They also replaced the center housing with the new and updated one. It actually, I know it's not for aesthetics, but it does actually look way cooler than the old one as well. I don't have a picture of the old one, but this one looks way cooler, and with that, I think it's also going to perform better, because why would you say it's updated and improved if it's not going to actually improve the cooling capability with air? So there's that. But one of the cooler things also with having this all redone is the fact that it like spins so easily. Look at this. It's amazing. Like, has no oil or anything like that, so it goes pretty darn well. But now the challenge is getting it back into the car. So it's not all that difficult. And in essence, but you know, that's its home right there. But getting it matched up to the oil feed and all the other stuff going on down there, that is going to be the hard part. But here we go, and I got to get this car back together. Fast forward a few days, and I finally have some good news, and hopefully y'all can hear me. But obviously, the car is back up and running, which, gosh dang, it took long enough for this to happen. So let me actually turn it off, just so you guys can hear me. I can barely hear myself, so I doubt y'all can hear me. But like I said, the car is finally back up and running. I don't know why it took a little while, other than the machine shop got a little bit busy. So I don't think I explained it, but I was an idiot. And the housing for the compressor wheel is aluminum, and the bolts for said housing are steel. And wouldn't you go figure? It seemed like it was a little bit too easy when I did it, or however it happened. I don't know whether it was already like that, or if it went back and got refurbished and came back to me like that, or if I did it truly just because I tried to get it too snug. Either way, um, steel bolt, met aluminum threads, and I stripped it. And I was an idiot. Well, the two times that I've tried to helicoil before, I was fine because they were on the engine. And the engine was on the engine stand, so it couldn't move anywhere whatsoever. It was just solid. Whereas with the turbo, I tried to do it, and I didn't have it um, put on anything. I didn't have anything holding it in place. So every time the drill got a little bit torquey, the turbo would move, and you know that obviously creates problems. So when I did the helicoil, it got jacked up, and wasn't able to go far enough in. And then when I wasn't able to get far enough in, I also wasn't able to tap deep enough. So I had to take part of the helicoil off. Doing that created an uneven top end, and I tried to file it down. Just a whole slew of issues. So ended up taking it to the machine shop. Unfortunately, the machine shop got really busy when I dropped it off. So it was there for 4 days. I called them on Friday, and I was like, hey, so just trying to get an update. And like while I was on the phone, the guy's like, yeah, just come up and come pick it up. I'll work on it right now. So in less than 15 minutes, the turbo was back to going. Thankfully, he had one of those drills that's on a stand, and it took him no time at all. And he was able to drill it a little bit deeper and reinsert the helicoil. So turbo obviously back together, good to go. I also cheated a little bit. I was going to wait for the video, but I decided to check both the water level in there and in the overflow tank, because really that is the whole reason why I had to rebuild the engine, was because of torching a hole and turning the cooling system into a heating system, evaporating all the water, and blah blah blah. Well, I am happy to report, I'm not going to take it off now because obviously it was running, but the reservoir is full, so is the overflow. It's absolutely amazing. Now, of course, I haven't gone crazy on it yet, so I'm not exactly sure how it'll handle um, going full out, but we'll see. Um, the other thing is, I have a surprise coming up here shortly, because you'll probably be able to guess it, but I'm going to just try to allude to it. But the way the car stands now, I'm on the old tune, which I think I've said before, because the tune that I was sent as a base map, absolutely terrible. So I switched back to the tune that I used to run on the track, and it's been phenomenal since. The only bad thing is it can't be adjusted. The tune was done by the shop that I took it to previously, and for whatever reason, I cannot get a hold of them, and it still shows as temporarily closed. So it is what it is. The airflow is just a little bit different for this setup than the last setup, probably especially now that the turbo's been rebuilt. So probably got a lot more efficiency going on there. But It's running rich, so not ideal, but I haven't gotten into boost or anything, so it's not really um, doing any harm whatsoever. But it runs perfectly smooth. However, because of the EPA and the fine that Cobb went through and blah blah blah, Cobb no longer sells their software to anyone with the ability to delete codes. So the car could be tuned on what it is right now. However, there would be check engine lights galore because they can't be deleted. And I don't know if you know, but I obviously don't have a downpipe. I don't have the air pump system. The air pump would go right there. Then there's another part of it that goes here. I would have TGV motors and whatever the heck else is going on. It would cost me just as much to put all the emission stuff back in, and I wouldn't do it for sure to the exhaust because I would just choke it up. But it would probably cost as much, if not more, to get all that back in versus what I'm going to do. I'll let you use your imagination, but that is what's on the table right now. So that's a little bit down the road. I still have about roughly 400 to 500 miles that I need to drive this thing around. I'll probably cut it short. I'm supposed to try to get 800 to 1,000, but I don't think I'll need that much. And obviously, it's going to be my fault if anything bad does happen to it. So it's the way that it is. But yeah, that is it. Now it's just time to put some miles on it, go for some drives. I would bring a camera along with me, but it would literally be quiet and nothing else would happen because I can't even have a conversation in the car. So you guys being in the car on video, it would just be a bunch of exhaust noise, and I don't think that would be pleasurable to you all. But that is the update. So here's to 600 or so more miles, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see. I'll show you what the update is. I'm probably guessing you already know. All right, so I'm halfway happy I haven't uploaded this video because just a tad bit more of an update. So car seems to be running a little bit smoother, but that's only because on this bracket here, there is like the bracket is powder coated on both sides, but I have the eye wires like junction right there. You know, it's got this cable connected to it. And there's a few other cables throughout the engine bay. Thankfully, you can't really see them. That's pretty darn awesome. Probably the only one you would be able to see is that guy right there, even though it's dark. So that I'm holding on to it. But that's another one of the grounding wires or grounding straps. Either way, it's powder coated on both sides. So on the bottom part right there, behind this bolt, I ground it down. The car seems to be, maybe it's the placebo effect. I don't think so. Everything seems to run a little bit smoother, and the car seems a little bit more sturdy. Second thing is I adjusted the fuel pressure just a little bit because I understand I'm not even running a base tune. I'm just running the old tune, so the setup's a little bit different, airflow's a little bit different, all that jazz. So I just wanted to try something out, and forgive me if I'm being stupid on this, but I was running a little bit rich, so I decided to turn down the fuel pressure just a little bit. And at idle, it's good. It hovers right around the 14.7 that it's supposed to be at on pump gas 93. And then last but not least, for years I have been dealing with what I thought was a power draw. And unbeknownst to me, I just didn't care to check, but I knew, and this is going to irritate y'all because it's a small little minor detail, but I want to be as transparent as possible in all these things in the process of me learning to check out absolutely every possible link. Anyway, as you'll see here, that light's on. That light is now on. There you go. And that light is now on. Well, this light was burnt out until I replaced it the other day. But the crazy part is that button has been pressed in for the past who knows how long. And so, with that light bulb being dead, I was never able to notice that it was still on. and that was the power draw. There was power going to it, but no light was on because it was burnt out. And what do you know? I have not had to have the car on the charger whatsoever for a couple of days now, and it started just fine. The true test will be when it's a bit colder out, but that's not for another little while. And the other cool part is I know I mentioned it already. I still have not lost any water. I was at 240. I believe I am now at 260 miles on the break-in tune. I'm not sure exactly how many miles I'm actually going to go. I just did the second oil change on it, so it's got 20 miles on this oil change. I just had to buy the oil fill tube. I believe there was a oil leak going on with it because before I even started the car, I came to check for leaks and whatnot, and there's just the slightest ever film that was you could see the film all the way down there. Ow, I just burnt myself. I just finished driving the car, but there's a little bit of a film on the bottom of the valve cover, and I traced it up. It was going through the valve cover all the way to the boot and whatnot, and then I finally got up to where underneath the fill tube, and that's where the film stopped. So I'm going to replace the O-ring. That thing was the most expensive O-ring I think I've ever bought. That was $22. But, I guess it's worth the money because of what it does. Here to annoy you all again with the world's smallest update. So, like I said, world's most expensive O-ring I thought I had to replace. And it was the O-ring that I had to replace. If that's all that had happened. However, when I looked at parts, I ended up getting the wrong part, and I should have known. It was a little bit suspicious that that an O-ring for the oil fill neck would cost $23, but I went with it anyway, and then I brought it home, and I went about changing it out. So here you have the old one, and it fits pretty darn snug around the filler neck. And then here's the one that I bought, and don't know how well you can see that, but it's definitely not as tight of a fit. So I was trying to get it in, or get the fill tube filled or installed back in. And while I was doing that, I started hearing a little bit of cracking, and you can kind of see me playing with it right now. But gosh dang it. Well, as you can see, that ended up breaking off and threw everything kind of in the water, and I had no way of getting it back together that night. So, and it was late at night, which is really really annoying. And one of the big things during this whole project is I've had to learn freaking patience like nobody's business. So I had to wait till the next morning to call around, and called the nearest dealership here, and I was able to order it, but it was going to take until Wednesday, which would be yesterday. Now it is Thursday, so these videos are all scattered. This video is not coming out weeks later. It is coming out a couple days after the first update. So I've just been delaying video updates. But yeah, they said it would take until Wednesday of next week. So I called on, I believe it was Friday of last week, and they said I would have to wait till Wednesday of the following week. And I was like, okay, cool. So I put it on order just in case. And then I got the wild hair to call another dealership, and thankfully they were able to get the part in 24 hours. So Saturday morning. So that's what I ended up doing. I ended up ordering it. It's installed right now. All is good. And the cool thing is even though you can't see it right now, I have gone on a pretty good road trip. I drove down to our Black Rifle Coffee in in Virginia Beach just to test it out. But ultimately, there were no leaks that I could find. And what I think it was since this piece seemed to crack off so easily, I think it was already cracking. And there's this, it was creating a little tiny hole. And as you can see right there, that is a hole that goes into the fill neck. So if I were to have tried to put oil into it with that, with this bracket piece with that plastic, if it was just a bracket, I wouldn't care. But that plastic piece came off with it, and so oil would have never made it in there. And I have a feeling that it was already cracked, and that's why it was ever so slight of a leak. But overall, car is now, I would say, dyno worthy, and I don't have to worry about a random little oil leak being found and getting kicked off of the dyno, and having to wait another day or however long it takes me to get stuff to fix that little piece. All I got to do now is I've got a road trip planned because I want to say, so like I said in the earlier in the video, I think I've got about now um, 350-ish miles, probably a little bit less. So I want to get up to about 800 for the break-in. Kind of just arbitrary, but I kind of just want to do that. I feel like it's already done. Um, I remember at the beginning, all the smoke blowing out of it, just because uh, the the piston rings hadn't, sat or and created their home within the cylinder walls. So as time has progressed, there's obviously no smoke coming out anymore. So I think it's as broken in as it's going to get. But just for the heck of it, there's a new Buc-ee's, and I'm going to travel up there, and it's about 250 miles away with no cruise control on this. That might be an update coming soon. But no cruise control right now, so that's going to be a very painful thing. I've done it before. I've gone to Tail of the Dragon on this, and I drove it to Tail of the Dragon. But I will say, when I got home later that night, my right leg was killing me. Clutch leg, fine, but the throttle pedal leg was not having it. But yeah, so it's going to be about a 500-ish mile round trip, and I'm going to go on the back roads, so avoiding the highway, so I can hopefully get a little bit of acceleration and deceleration and all that fun jazz, just so I can get the car under vacuum, under decel, and see how all that goes. So that's all I have for now. I think maybe the next video I have an update for will be when the break-in is completely done. So now officially, until next time, y'all, stay driven.